Hello everyone and welcome to today's SmackDown Watch Along. It is no longer the draft is in the books, and instead we have a show built around what's going to happen to the Usos, Cody Rhodes and Bianca Belair making appearances, and of course Shinsuke Nakamura versus Karrion Kross, which is not the strongest main event I've ever seen, and I'd imagine we're going to get another one over the course of the show. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's already joined us: Mick, Joe, Mark, Brad, James and Jaden. Hey, tomorrow to you too, Jaden. How you doing? Peter as well saying no more giraffes. No more giraffes. Giraffes are over. Not in a good way. They're over. We're live in Puerto Rico. They are really going through with this camera angle. Did they just fly a drone through the door? Not in a good way. Well played. We're live in Puerto Rico. This is a crowd shot I could get behind. Camera angle. Did they just fly a drone? Of course, it'll be the only crowd shot of its kind, and it'll move in the other direction from here on out, but it's still nice. This is a crowd shot. San Juan, Puerto Rico is home to tonight's SmackDown. Hello, Peter, and hello, Megan. Rey Mysterio is opening the show. They're going to Panda tonight. They're really going to Panda. Bad Bunny, as we know, is going to be here as well. Rey Mysterio is opening the show. I quite like that entryway. They're really going to Panda. Bad Bunny, that's a very nice little entryway they've got there. They pulled out all the stops on this one. Sean is here as well, saying hello, Tom, and everyone. Hello to you too, Sean. That's a very nice little entryway they've got there. Eric, they pulled out all the stops. My voice is echoed. Sean is here as well, saying hello, Tom, and everyone. Hello to you too, Sean. How about now? Is that better? I don't know why that might be, but let me know if that's better, because we did have something coming through desktop audio as well, and hopefully that's fixed it. I don't want to be echoing so loudly as to confuse everyone. That is better. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. I genuinely would have had no idea, so I do appreciate that. Big help. LWO is opening the show. A very, very clear bit of pandering, but I'll absolutely take it. Eric says, Tom, were you surprised the Usos stayed on SmackDown? No. I was asked several times during spoiler warning, do you think the Usos are moving to Raw? And every single time the answer was no. Usos are staying with the Bloodline. Andy Barr is here saying hello. Hello, Andy. James says, do you think Roman would show up on this island? This is on the island of relevancy. He's still on a break. Still on a break. Peter blames Connor, and so you should. So you always should. Always blame Connor. Bailey saying that's better. Thank you, Bailey. So always confusing. Always confusing. Sean says, Carl Urban has been cast as Johnny Cage in a sequel to Mortal Kombat. Well, that's disappointing for The Miz. And of course, Cody Rhodes, apparently, according to rumour. We are getting a recap of the press conference from earlier today, particularly as regards Zelina Vega and Rhea Ripley. I don't imagine they're going to get too physical tonight, but we do have a whole LWO. This could be an absolute mayhem match if they just throw everyone together, and I kind of hope they do. Thank you, Sean says LA Knight versus Rich Holland was a pre-show dark match. Does kind of suggest we're not going to see much LA Knight on this show. Zelina Vega looks absolutely thrilled to be there. Absolutely thrilled. I do like that there wasn't a formal face turn by anyone in Legado. There wasn't a formal face turn by anyone. They just eventually decided, you know what, Ray's our friend. They're introducing the Spanish announce team, which I cannot remember them doing during a SmackDown for a long time. Chase, how you doing, mate? Been a little while. Says hi. How you doing, Chase? I do want to say thank you, actually, to Serial Killer A187. So a big fan of the A187 Road. Big fan. Who followed on the Twitch side and subscribed while we were offline. Thank you very much, Serial Killer. Eric says, I thought Roman would have banished them to Raw after failing to get the belts back. Roman isn't that offensive. He doesn't go in that hard. We're opening in Spanish. I don't understand all of this. Mark says, had to pause your stream so you're in time with what I am watching. Was I ahead of you, mate? Was I ahead? Sean says, do you know if Becky will be back soon, Tom? Yes. James says, is that 1.5 million their whole budget for the show? No, that's not how that works. That's how much the WWE were given in order to bring the show there. Their budget is the same as their budget for a normal show. But now they're getting paid extra for it. That's not how it works. Big chance for Zelina Vega. She's a little bit emotional here. Naturally, she gets interrupted before she can speak. I tell you, year of Judgment Day, I really do. Mark thinks someone's going through Spanish announce table. Megan agrees, says Spanish announce table, which will be in pieces by the end of the show. Calling it now. If so, surely Solo... Finn Balor has a new shirt. Finn 14 Staples. That is lovely. Oh, Sean, don't worry. On Twitch, you're able to write longer messages than on YouTube, and sometimes they do get quite long. I read them out. I just don't always have time to read them out at my usual pace. No need to be sorry. Bailey says, meanwhile, CNN is interviewing people camping out in London for the coronation. They want to sleep. They should sleep. They should go home. It's 1 o'clock in the morning over here. Go home. I've not seen it, James. First time I've seen it. We seem to have a very unhappy audience plan. Dominic ripping a gimmick shirt. Because he's got history not being able to rip things, bless him. James says the walkway is dope. Eric says LWO putting Rhea and Dom through the table. Far too early. Far too early for that one. This is a hot crowd. Santos cheerleading a little bit. Ray focusing on his acting, which is important. So someone's got to cheerlead for him. I'd have thought it'd be Zelina, but good ring awareness from Santos. No Damian Priest, I'm noticing. Logically then, is Damian Priest attacking Bad Bunny backstage? Because technically, Judgment Day are outnumbered here. Sean says, to sum it up, Indy relinquished the title and announced a tournament with the finals at NXT Battleground. Do you have a prediction on who wins, and could Indy be there to present the title to them? No, and probably not. I don't know enough people. Now, one of my favourite things is when a wrestler gets booed so heavily that they can't finish a sentence. You guys will remember that Roman Reigns' promo after retiring The Undertaker, which took 15 minutes and consisted of 5 whole words, is my favourite promo of all time on wrestling. Dominic, he's made it. He's made it, and there is no doubt that Rey Mysterio right now is incredibly proud. Santos again cheerleading to help Dom get over as a heel. That is good teamwork. Oh, that is mean. Bailey says, your thoughts on the NXT call-ups? Felt some of the call-ups with veterans who are around a little too long and need to step up. That's true. A lot of the time, call-ups are based on trying to get people out of the way of others rather than develop themselves. Mark says, after the heat Dom gets, I want him to win Money in the Bank. I want him to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Peter loves Finn's shirt. Andy's saying hot crowd, which is absolutely right. The issue is I can't understand the word they're saying. I can understand, like, sporadic words, but the crowd are hot, and that's all I need. James says, last Raw was crazy for Dom, couldn't talk at all. Noah Vlog says, who do you think will win? Brock versus Cody. My prediction earlier was Cody Rhodes. Sean says, who gets more heat, Dominic or Austin Theory? It's not even close, it's Dominic. I believe that was I Spanked You at WrestleMania. Megan says, I wish I was still able to understand Spanish now. I'm rusty as hell. Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio both wearing Damian Priest shirts featuring the Puerto Rico flag. Okay, they've been booing Dominic, but they're chanting Mommy at Rhea. Rhea versus Ray. Mommy versus King. Zelina says no. I can't help but notice that Zelina Vega's on tiptoes there. She's on tiptoes. Real creepy from Dominic Mysterio. Like, super creep. You want to fight both of us? Let's go. Mark says, what was the crowd chanting? I couldn't begin to say it live on stream. A Spanish yes chant. I love what's happening right now. It's a C chant. Finn Balor relegated to holding the championship, but we have Dominic and Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega and Rey. Sounds like this might be our main event. Oh, Dominic with a cheap shot. He picked his moment really nicely there. Noah says, when do you think Roman will return? Around Money in the Bank time. Blue says, Tom, any idea if Roxanne might be coming up soon? She was told to prepare for a call-up. It looks like that call-up has been cancelled. Much like Bron Breakker, several times he was supposed to be called up, but the call-ups were cancelled. Sean says, I've seen a few suggesting Solo wins a new title and gives it to Roman. By a few, do you mean fans? And James wants them to speak English. I'm okay with it. There was enough English that I knew what was going on. What's next up then? I thought you might, Sean. Okay, so we're going to talk about last week. Ah, yes. OC versus Viking Raiders. The OC is set for a push on behalf of AJ Styles, who it doesn't sound like he's going to get too involved at the moment. He's certainly going to be busy, he's going to be there, but he's going to be an overseer rather than directly involved personally, at least for the start. The Viking Raiders have been pretty well protected. They stood up pretty strong to Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Then AJ Styles steps into the ring and that'll be that. Amazing how things change. Noah says, I hope Bobby feuds with Roman. Me too. I very much want to see that happen. Eric says, what happened to Priest? He wasn't there. Wasn't there. I'd imagine he and Bad Bunny are going to have something a little bit later. Hi Chris, how you doing, mate? The OC rocking the blue are on their way down. No, the only two of them are rocking blue. The other two are rocking the exact same gear that they always do. They've not exactly fully committed to this WWE life. As usual at this point, I'll take the opportunity, just as we're starting, to say if you can, please remember to hit the like button. Every thumbs up can make a big difference to the growth of the channel. And subscribe if you haven't already. Right now we're on 2,418. 2 more will get us to 2,420. Logically, we're about to have ourselves a commercial break. And once we come back, we open with the OC versus the Viking Raiders. One of the biggest signs that it's a Triple H show is a lot of tag team matches, and we're already guaranteed to have 2. Typically, he only has about 4 matches per SmackDown, so half of them are tag matches already. Noah says maybe Brock might do a sneak attack on Cody. I suspect he will. I suspect we're going to see Brock Lesnar tonight. I mean, Cody Rhodes is going to be right there. You might as well. When in doubt, go for it. We're very much getting a propaganda video for Puerto Rico here, based heavily around Bad Bunny. This is just a propaganda video. Like, it's not a Backlash commercial, it's a propaganda video. Like, I'm not particularly mad about it, but we can't call them out for Saudi Arabia and not necessarily call them out for that. Propaganda video. Which is not unfair. Seems like a beautiful place. Eric says, do you think we see Liv and Raquel tonight? Not impossible. There are rumours that the WWE, particularly led by Vince, are trying to add Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Dakota Kai and Bayley to the Backlash card. If that's going to happen, they need to be there. So that's certainly a possibility. Megan says, I'd rather Puerto Rico over Saudi Arabia. Me too. I'm going to watch the Puerto Rico show. I'm not going to watch the Saudi Arabia show. Like, I don't really care about the fact that it's Night of Champions. I won't be watching it. Mark says, I like how over the LWO is even when they don't win. Yeah, well, to be fair, it's home turf at this point, and the association with Rey Mysterio has definitely been a pretty big benefit for them. A pretty big benefit. So far tonight, I think it's pretty clear that the crowd are going to be carrying this. if it's a case that the show itself isn't that good, the crowd will still carry it. But we had a very good SmackDown last week. Even ignoring most of the draft stuff, the wrestling matches were quality. SmackDown's on a good run right now. Quite recently, of course, they had Gunther versus Xavier Woods, which was a fantastic match. Meanwhile, Ricochet and Braun Strowman have been really helpful, but all of those have now moved to Raw. So they need to kind of reassess who the big threats are now. And I want to see Bobby Lashley involved. Also, of course, we've not heard anything about Bray Wyatt for a while. He is still under WWE contract, so I'll be interested to see what they do with him. Sean says, how long do you see Jade Cargill's undefeated streak going before she loses? I say 75 to nothing. I don't think there's 75 people for her to beat, to be honest. I would give her another 6 months. If they book Sasha, she'll be thrown straight up against her. James says, when Bad Bunny comes out, it's going to be nuts. It is, and I do think that's when we find Damian Priest. Dom says, don't forget to hit that like button, or we have 5 words for you. Nobody ready for Asuka, which is 4 words, Dom. I don't know if you've noticed that. I think you may have missed a word there, or gone full Yoda. One or the other. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. Andy says, has Vince been making a lot of changes to creative? I wouldn't necessarily say a lot, but he has been making changes to creative. Triple H is still writing the shows, and I think too much blame is going to Vince to sort of absolve Triple H of the fact that the Raw After Mania was a bad show that he wrote even before Vince got his hand on it. So, I don't know on that one. Noah says, who do you think Brock will face possibly after Cody? I don't think he'll actually face anyone until around SummerSlam time. So, honestly, the landscape is likely to be very different by then. I don't think it'll be anyone until SummerSlam. I also think he has unfinished business with Bobby Lashley. That said, a rematch with Cody is more likely. If Cody gets his match against Roman at SummerSlam, for example, and having beaten Brock at Backlash, Brock decides he's not done and interrupts that match, I'd imagine the fans would be even more furious than they were at WrestleMania. They are showing a little more of Puerto Rico between the breaks. They're advertising Rhea and Zelina versus Rhea and Dominic. It's not a bad spot for Rhea Ripley to land on tonight. She's relatively new to SmackDown, but she's been a key component since before WrestleMania. She is the champion, and she's against someone who's guaranteed to get a lot of heat on her. So that's a pretty good spot. The Viking Raiders not getting the job as entrants, but not exactly getting a full entrance either. And the World Heavyweight Championship is for some reason ringside again. The closer we get, the less I like it. Megan says, what does everyone think will be the biggest surprise on Backlash? I will say I'd be surprised if Seth versus Omos goes over 10 minutes. I think the big surprise for me will be Omos winning. But what do other people think will be the big surprise? AJ Styles is on commentary, hyping up that it's the house that AJ Styles built. I'm very interested to eventually find out what happens when AJ Styles and Paul Heyman run into each other backstage, I'll tell you that. Eric says, any news on the return dates for Shayna and Ronda? Nope, nothing as of yet. They've been drafted to Raw, they will be there soon. Ronda's still getting over the primary effects. Shayna's injury is fairly new, but it's not serious. Blue says, Jade has already beat multiple wrestlers at multiple times. It's kind of hilarious. Goldberg did as well. Noah wants Cody to dethrone Roman. Do you think Seth will ever fight Roman again? Yeah, forever's a very long time. Jane says, I hope Jay or Solo beat Roman. Jay's the obvious choice at this point. And I think with introducing a new championship, he gets to finish his story. And Sean says, I think it'll be a big surprise if Cody versus Brock is a squash. That would be a big surprise. Seems very unnecessary. The Viking Raiders so far in a strong position against Carl Anderson. Luke Gallows tagging in now. The Viking Raiders were kind of punked out last week. I do think this week they need to get a bit of that heat back. There's definitely some different camera work tonight. Still the quick cuts, but the angles are slightly different. And we're seeing some impacts, which is new. The general rule of the WWE is focus on them. Oh, it's about him. It's about hit. It's about hit. And you never actually see any impact. But we're actually seeing impact now. Now it says, imagine Roman winning the new belt, it would be shocking. I don't think it would be that shocking. A lot of people really think that's what's going to happen. I think people have worked themselves into thinking that it's definitely guaranteed. Oh, they're calling the move Brother Me Softly. I've missed AJ Styles. He just has his, if you'll forgive the pun, he has his own style. Carl Anderson's back in play. And the crowd staying at that level of heat. The Viking Raiders are getting more hatred than they've ever had. A great place for them to be in. You could see a moment ago Ivar just very excited with the level of heat that they were getting. The OC very clearly faces here. They knew what they were doing when they brought them over. James says they make it feel old school. It's fair. It's very fair. We are already in another commercial break. Every 10 minutes you get one. It definitely looks like they are laying it out 4 matches for the 2 hours. It's a great opening match. The crowd, as I say, are very, very into it. We've got Shinsuke versus Karrion Kross a little bit later. I doubt people are going to really be behind Karrion Kross. I hope Rick Boogs is going to turn up. I don't think he will, but I'd love it if he did. Sometimes you got a fantasy book, Rick Boogs. Sometimes you got a fantasy Boogs. Yeah, it works. Noah says, I think Brock and Bobby in a steel cage match at SummerSlam. I mean, that's an option. Sounds good to me. It'll very much be one-on-one. I just want something that's not going to be going to a DQ. The issue is Bobby does not want to lose to Brock, and Brock does not want to lose to Bobby. Very awkward for everyone involved. Eric says, how much longer do you think till Jay and Jimmy turn on Roman? I would have thought it would be way before now, but we are where we are. James says the new Shinsuke entrance needs a seizure warning. I mean, they do give you a seizure warning in the WWE. What I do find is when I'm actually at WWE events, they put the sign on doors saying beware. Beware of Shinsuke Nakamura. So, I'd say SmackDown started well. Crowd the main reason for it, but the opening promo, Dominic getting all that heat, they can build towards that match. I still don't necessarily think, and I know there's talk about this, I don't think Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny main events. I don't see it. You've got Brock, you've got Cody, but a lot of that comes down to what's the main event segment tonight. We know Cody's going to be here, we know Bianca's going to be here. We know we've got that tag match. We also know that they're going to have a Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Usos segment. So it's going to be a very, very busy night. It's a stacked show. I also wouldn't be too surprised to see at least a vignette for Edge, just highlighting that he's coming. Mark says, don't you feel the crowds outside the US, the crowd is so much better? Yeah, but I think a large part of that is because they so rarely get shows outside the US. So of course you're going to be a bit more hype. James likes the Australian and UK crowds. Noah says, I hope Solo will fight Brock. There's been rumours that Solo is an ex-Brock on Google. Your source cannot be Google. It's not a rumour if it's just some guy saying on Google. That's not how rumours work, mate. Gonna have to push back on that one, and you know it. We are back in play. At the moment I just have a dark screen, so hopefully we're back in play. There we are. Again, we have the drone cam. This feels like a very different show. You don't need to be sorry, mate. I just want you to check your sources a bit. Luke Gallows has tagged in. Clearly they were building to a hot tag. We just weren't watching at the time because it was during a commercial break. AJ Styles is not sitting down. They say edge of his seat. He's actually just standing. It's interesting because I've been to New Japan shows featuring Gallows and Anderson and nobody cared. Went to Royal Quest in October And it was almost funny because every single wrestler, face or heel, got a big reaction from the crowd. Apart from Gallows and Anderson, they got no reaction at all. Literally nothing. Sean says, do you know if Keith Lee has creative freedom in AEW? Nope. In AEW, nobody has full creative freedom. Everything has to be ratified by Tony Khan. Every single thing. You can make suggestions, but it's up to him whether you do it. And that is not creative freedom. People really overplay the concept of creative freedom. The idea seems to be, hey, does this wrestler have the ability to write all of their own storylines and match finishes? And no. The answer is always no. The only exception, of course, being Hulk Hogan way back when, and that went really well, didn't it? Ivar with the big splash. Gallows was being covered. I think he sort of gave it away. If you watch his eyes, he's checking to make sure Carl Anderson's going to get there in time. James is excited by the crowd. Valhalla getting involved now. Mark said, loving the camera production today. Is Dunn still in charge? Yes, he is. But Triple H is more in charge. So that's Valhalla down. Eric says, Tom, will Valhalla go back to wrestling? Probably not. Probably not. Noah wants Seth to win the new belt. Mark is loving the crowd chanting in Spanish with the count. And why wouldn't they? Magic killer to Ivar. That's got to be that. And indeed, it is. AJ Styles up to celebrate. As I say, as I've reported previously, he has been cleared for action, but he's essentially on a phased return and will be coming back when he's ready to do so. Sean says, I like Mitchin with OC, it gets her on TV. It does. And I remember when people were furious about her being called Mitchin and not Mia Yim. People were mad. We've all got over it now, haven't they? It was a good dropkick, that, as well. A very clinical wrestler, Mia Yim. We don't get to see enough of it. That's a win by the OC, and they are clearly being positioned as contenders. I could definitely see AJ Styles winning a United States Championship, Gallows and Anderson challenging for Tag Team Championships, and Mia Yim in and around the Women's Championship. I gotta be honest, I don't see her winning. It's Rhea Ripley's time. They're now plugging the situation with the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know. I really don't know how they can play out and justify the fact that we're going to get both Raw and SmackDown people involved in this. It does not make sense. Bailey says AEW is paying a price by Tony thinking he can be owner, promoter and booker simultaneously. He'd be better served by delegating authority. The issue that he had between CM Punk and the Elite has caused him not to trust his executive vice presidents anywhere near as much as he did. That's at least what I'm hearing. Bianca Belair is our middle of the first hour draw segment. On SmackDown for a while now, they've been trying to have free draw segments instead of just the one. And it's working out. They did it way back when Becky Lynch first returned and they had Seth versus Edge. Every half hour they had a big moment. Noah says, I hope AJ might feud with Roman too. Not for a while yet. They need to build him up a lot, and I just don't think that's ever going to happen in his current contract. Blue says, the Good Brothers only really get heat when they're with Bullet Club or former wrestlers, former members. Yeah, it's all about AJ. Like, this is all because of AJ. It's got nothing to do with the Bullet Club. The OC, I should say. Mark says, the green shirt guy is everywhere. Yeah, he's a meme. He is a meme. Oh, yes, sorry, Leon. I forgot about swap. Bianca. Bianca is where the focus is. I forgot about swap. Thank you for reminding me there, Leon. We're into another commercial break, and I've got to say, feels like there's a lot of commercial breaks. Every 10 minutes. It's not fun. Megan says, either the SmackDown people in the tournament were the ones on Raw before the draft, or if a SmackDown person does win, they get traded to Raw in exchange for Cody. Will they be worth Cody? Let's say, for example, The side of the tournament won by SmackDown is won by Austin Theory. He ain't worth Cody. Even as a champion. James says, they said wherever Roman goes, the other brand gets it. That doesn't make sense then. It doesn't, and that's why I reported earlier on today, what I did report earlier on today about the championship, that it's been booked essentially on the fly. They were intending to have it Raw exclusive, and then they changed their minds. Sean says, I'm surprised Cody wasn't fined for attacking the security guards twice. Maybe that's what he'll be talking about when he comes out today. Noah says, who do you think will retire Brock Lesnar? Bron Breakker, probably. Brock doesn't want to go out on his back. He is traditional, so if Vince asks him to, he absolutely will. But if Triple H asks him to, he might not. That's all I'll really say there. Triple H asks him to, he might not. Untrue, Mark. Absolutely untrue. You might say A-Town is down the rungs of the ladder several times from AJ Styles. Just a quick reminder of my schedule going forwards. This Monday will be our last show for 2 weeks. So we have our show today. Tomorrow we will be hosting a full watch party for Backlash. A full watch party, and then on Monday we will have spoiler warning. So the 8th of May we will have spoiler warning. After that we will not have another spoiler warning until the 26th of May. So between the 8th and the 26th there will be no live streams at all. Literally not. I will still be posting shorts. I may still post slightly more long form content, but it will be at a truncated schedule. It won't be the most reliable. I won't have access to a PC. It'll only be off from my phone. So, please be aware. Between the 8th and the 26th, there will be 0 live streams. Sean says, Matt Riddle wants to retire Brock, but I don't see it happening. Neither does Brock, so it won't. Noah hopes Seth will beat Omos. I kind of hope Omos beats Seth. Seth can get his heat back very quickly, whereas Omos is just getting demolished recently. Mark says, Austin is just below Gunter, and we all know how I feel about Gunter. He's not just below Gunter. He's way below Gunter. Way down. A-Town down. I do think it's a shame that we're not going to see Gunter tonight. I know he's gone to Raw, so it was unlikely that we were going to see him, but it would still have been a nice thing to see. I mean, he is a huge part of what's made SmackDown successful recently. And SmackDown has been very successful recently. So Gunter at least popping up, I feel would have been very beneficial overall for the show. We are heading back in. We'll see what Bianca Belair has to say. Rhea Ripley, of course, has already been seen tonight. But I'd imagine this is going to be about the championship trade, or we're going to start building up to Io Sky. It's also not impossible, to be blunt here, it's not impossible that what's about to happen is a 6-woman tag team match. Damage Control versus Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez. Sean says, do you think we'll see Bobby Lashley? Not tonight. Not tonight. I know he has a match coming up at Backlash, so maybe we'll see a brief backstage appearance. But I think it's a very, very busy show, and there's not going to be that much room for people. Eric would love to see AJ Styles retire Brock. AJ Styles will retire before Brock Lesnar does. Mark says, Austin is better than Jay White. We can both agree on that. Can we hell? Can we hell? You are getting on my last nerve, sir. You are getting on my last nerve with this. I will not accept any Jay White slander on this timeline. Noah says, who do you think will win the new belt? As a hint, he may be on TV right now. Literally right now. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a dumb piece of rock. Bianca Belair wearing full blue apart from the Raw Women's Championship, which is on the completely wrong show. I don't see a championship trade happening tonight. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. If anything, logically, they'll have the match at Backlash first and then work it out afterwards. Briefly talking about the European tour, which less helpful. Okay, cheap pop. So far, not much really happening. Noah says, how long do you think Brock will wrestle? Till he doesn't want to anymore. Eric says, imagine if Rhea wins the title. She already has a title. She has SmackDown Women's Championship. She's already a champion, mate. Bianca putting over Io Sky. One thing I feel I can guarantee is that there's going to be Spanish flies. Bianca Belair is one of the ones that they trust to go out there and cut a good promo. Admittedly, she largely cuts the same promo, but they never really trusted Sasha Banks to go out there. It was very rare to see Sasha Banks going out there solo to cut a promo. This is the main reason that Bianca Belair is getting pushed as heavily as she is. EST chant from the crowd. I really do feel she should have let them chant a little longer. This is very self-celebratory. Did you say the moderate error? She's not running particularly smooth. Mark says, could they just get Bianca to walk out with a SmackDown title in Backlash? They could. It's an option. Oh look, it's Damage Control. All three members of Damage Control heading down to the ring. Io central because at the moment she's the focus. Dakota Kai looking absolutely wild, and I mean that in the highest of compliments. Mark is dropping tables. Says, I've already read that one. Noah says, if Roman doesn't have the title, is it possible Brock could fight Roman again? Just wondering. Everything is on the table. Forever's a very long time. Yes, a match might happen again. Bayley's not wrong, by the way. She did make Bianca on this show. As I say, a very self-congratulatory promo. So yes, logically on this, I definitely think 6-woman tag is where we're headed. Champions versus non-champions. And I definitely see Bianca Belair pinning Dakota Kai, which I don't like, but it is what it is. Bayley trying to put over Rio, but I don't think anyone really believes it. Which is a shame because she's incredibly talented. Just unfortunately, it's not logical at this point. Bayley going after Michael Cole. It's back. Justin says, I wish Bray would come back. He needs to get writing. It is 3-on-1 against Bianca Belair. Now, she's fought off all three of Damage Control solo before, including in a ladder match. Noah says, I don't think The Rock will return. Yeah, he won't. Yep, again, Bianca is just beating up all three members of Damage Control. There we go. You want to make Io look a threat? Actually have her be a threat. It's not hard. It's not rocket science, guys. Sean says, I wish Bayley was a face again. I miss her as a face. If she was a face, she'd be a very different face than the one you recognise. Do I hear the tones of Liv Morgan's theme? Oh look, it's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, the women's tag team champions, coming down to help even the odds against Damage Control. I don't want to call WWE predictable, but I did call all of this during the commercial break. Not really rocket science. I don't think there's actually going to be a match, though. Nobody looks dressed to wrestle. What I will say is that's pretty high tempo for a mid-hour draw segment. Io was not made to look stronger there. She was not made to look stronger. We've gone backstage to Karrion Kross. I don't know why we're supposed to care. Drew McIntyre demolished him week in and week out. And now you're going against Shinsuke Nakamura, who's just returned and has momentum on his side? Like, do you honestly think we're going to believe in you? Mark really wants Io to win tomorrow. You will be very sorely disappointed, mate. And Bailey says if they were running in to help Bianca, why do they need to run Liv's theme music first? Well, technically, if you're going through Gorilla, someone else plays the music. I don't know why they've never mentioned that. Like, logically, they could just say, oh, the audio guy saw them running through Gorilla, quickly went through his log and played their music. Again, doesn't take rocket science. Also, every now and then they could just play the wrong music and just claim he was a bit overwhelmed. It's all good stuff. They're pushing later on when Shinsuke versus Karrion Kross will take place. Logically, at this point, we're getting to another match and the Street Profits are on their way down. We're going to get 3 tag matches tonight. 3 tag matches and 1 singles match. And the only women's match will be the mixed tag match. Yep, Triple H is booking this show. Everything the tag match. Street Profits versus the OC seems to be a big plan going forwards. They are both faces at this point, but that's not really going to be an issue. Noah says, I wish that stipulation didn't happen to Brock because I wish it was a triple threat match between Roman, Brock and Cody. I don't. If Cody's going to finish the story, he needs to stop having extra people involved. Eric says, I like how Liv and Raquel now completely match. I know a lot of people, when it comes to, well, essentially Liv Morgan and tag team partners, are of the opinion that you shouldn't just throw a team together. And that's correct. However, if they're given enough time and focus, they will become a team. The Street Profits will be taking on Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci of Imperium. But first we have another commercial break. They're going through the crowd, which has at times got them in trouble way back when. Way back when. John says, I remember you saying WWE doesn't want split up couples, but they did with Alexa and Buddy Murphy in 2018. Alexa was on Raw and Buddy was on 205 Live. Yeah, okay. I should point out, Buddy hadn't been called up at all. He was still technically on 205 as an NXT talent. That is a very different scenario. Very different scenario. That's not splitting up a couple. That's calling up one person who's ready and not calling up another person who's ready. Who's they didn't believe at the time was ready. Now he was. He very clearly was. But I do feel it's a shame. On a Triple H, I feel he'd have got a damn good shot because we know he could wrestle. He worked really well with Roman as well. Really well. Back on the time, it looked like we were going to get a Samoa Joe tag team. Like your favourite Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, not the Samoan Cold Joe. The Samoa Joe. Very different things. Up next, Street Profits versus Imperium. Then we have our mid-hour draw our mid-show draw segment. Then we have our Shinsuke Nakamura versus Karrion Kross match. Then a mid-hour draw segment, and then we have our mixed tag match. Triple H is very, very clear with his booking choices. There is a certain way that he always does things. 1, a lot of tag matches. 2, half-hour blocks. Everything is reduced down to half-hour blocks in the way Triple H does things. 1 match per half hour. That's how he does it on premium live events. It's how he does his SmackDowns. Thank you very much for subscribing to the YouTube channel, Arya. Very much appreciate that. We are continuing to grow, and I want to say a thank you to you and to everyone else who's already subscribed. We are trying to get to, tonight, 2,420 subscribers. We are one away, just one away at 2,419. Leon says, since KO and Sami are tag champs and drafted to Raw, will SmackDown have a new set of tag titles, or will KO and Sami appear on SmackDown too, basically ignoring the brand split? To my knowledge, the intention is to split the championships, but that was also true for Roman Reigns until very, very recently. Perish, how you doing, mate? Says hello. How you doing? Are you guys not hosting a watch party of your own over on T'other channel? Over on OLE? Over on Olay? I was plugging your Wrestle Draft earlier on today. Mostly because I like the moment when Ed loses his mind at Eric Bischoff. It's good TV. It's good TV. We are back live with SmackDown. Street Profits versus Imperium. Only about 10 minutes likely for this match when you factor out the commercial break and the fact that we are going to have a mid-show draw segment. The Street Profits will not be that draw segment. I'll be interested to see if we see Gunter tonight. Be very interested to see if we actually see Gunter. See you later, Noah. Thanks for dropping in. Justin says, what's next for Cody after he beats Brock tomorrow? Well, personally, I still think Roman. Logically, I'd be throwing him into Money in the Bank, certainly. I might have him... If I was booking this, and I'd already seen him lose to Roman, I'd have him beat Brock. I'd have him lose because of Solo and the Usos during the tournament to determine the new champion. Then I'd have him win Money in the Bank, and then I'd have him go up against Roman at SummerSlam. And you're not going to like this, but I'd probably still have him lose. Thomas says it was a very overconfident promo from Bianca. That's Bianca's style. She's very self-aggrandizing. That's her way, as it were. It is the way. Mark says Gunter is in Italy on honeymoon. Thank you for the clarification there. I appreciate that. Serial Killer, how you doing? Nice to see you. I did give you a shout out earlier, but I'd like to give you a shout out one more time. Thank you very much for following and in fact subscribing on Twitch earlier on today. Like an hour ago, I believe it was. I very much appreciate it. Welcome to the show. We're getting a recap of last week, which is just eating into the match time. Kind of awkward. I suspect, though, this is going to be our only real build to the 6-man tag at Backlash. I'm starting to think we're not going to see the Usos tonight, or in fact any member of the Bloodline. Now, up until recently, this would have basically guaranteed us a bad SmackDown, but that's not what we're getting. Also, what I have realised, and I want to send out a quick apology here, I have not asked anyone for a match rating yet, and that is something that we do here. Now, it's the recency bias will not be with you, but our first match, our opening match, was the OC's Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus the Viking Raiders. Now, the crowd were really into that. The match quality was okay, but the crowd were really into it, and it helped carry it for me. I personally would give that a 6.5. We do have the Bloodline backstage. Solo Sikoa looks like he's ready to go for a fight, but I think this is just a backstage promo. So how does everyone feel about the first match? Give us a rating out of 10. Let me know what you thought. Because after all, we've got more matches to come. The crowd chanting for the Usos. Jay trying to get a response from Solo. Jay doesn't seem very happy with Solo. Solo, as we know, is very much pro-Roman. Leon gives the opening match a 7 out of 10. Bailey gives it a 5. And Mark gives it a 7. Megan says, going to wish you all a good night / morning and a happy weekend. Losing the fight to stay awake, so goodbye and enjoy my attempt at animated emos. There's always going to be a flag in there, isn't there? There's always going to be a flag. Have a good night, Megan. Have a good night. Andy gives the opening match 7 out of 10. If that's going to be the only appearance of the Usos, logically they probably recorded that last week. It's a good call if you ask me. Imperium are of course going to be on Monday Night Raw going forwards. It does definitely tell me that we have enough tag teams to compete for 2 sets of championships. Imperium versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn is going to be a lot of fun. And you've got Street Profits Usos, OC, Viking Raiders. You've already got plenty of options on SmackDown as well. Honestly, all I really want to see is an opportunity for Los Lotharios. What can I say? I like him. Peter gives the opening match an 8 out of 10. We started with an actual tag there, which is something I don't see a lot of. Justin says, I agree, Cody can't win the new belt. It makes it look secondary. It very much does. And it's not finishing the story. It's just not the same thing. So far the pace is high. Giovanni Vinci with a big crossbody. I think it's telling. I mean, we didn't expect this match to last long given the draw segment. Well, proximity to the draw segment. But Giovanni Vinci, he's just showing off now. He's just showing off. The Street Profits are in trouble here. We've started very hot. Giovanni Vinci essentially just showing off. I don't know if many people were fully aware of how athletic he actually is. Giovanni Vinci could give Montez Ford a run for his money. I just want to be clear on that. Very athletic man. Justin gives our opening match 6 out of 10 as well. Ludwig outsmarting Montez Ford. The Street Profits taking a beating here. Eric says you can see the look on Solo's face. He's about to have to do something he really doesn't want to do. Not before Backlash. They will not be happening before Backlash. Now after Backlash, different thing. During Backlash, there's your danger point. But not just yet. Montez is taking the beating here. Angelo Dawkins is not wearing his usual attire. I wonder how many wrestlers committed to red gear before going to SmackDown. Joey says, hey Tom, how has SmackDown been so far? So far so good, Joey. I would say match quality is pretty good. A lot of tag teams. But more than anything else, the crowd are really into this and it's carrying us along a little bit. A lot of hype for Angelo Dawkins right now. Imperium very much worth the time as well. It almost feels like we're heading to a finish, but surely we're not heading to a finish just yet. Giovanni Vinci planted by Angelo Dawkins. Montez Ford going for the frog splash. That's usually his finish. That's going to be it. That's actually it. Well, we knew it wasn't going to be a long match, but I didn't expect it to be that short. That's kind of disrespectful to Imperium, if I'm honest. Other than that, yep, I enjoyed it. I think the pace, the tempo was very, very good on that. Giovanni Vinci got to show off a little bit of what he could do, but ultimately the second we got that hot tag, it was kind of over. Very, very brief. I suspect maybe the Bianca segment ran over, or maybe the first match did. Either way, we are wrapped up. We'll get a commercial break and then we'll get ourselves a draw segment. How are we rating that match? As I say, again, I liked the tempo. If it had gone for maybe 5 more minutes, I'd have been giving it an 8 or a 9. But ultimately, I have to give it a 7. Not every match has to be a monster. Not every match has to be too bloated. The draw segment will be Cody Rhodes. Definitely suggested there that Brock Lesnar would be involved in this one. Interesting that the draw segment so far have been Bianca, who came from Raw, and Cody, who's permanently on Raw. Is that they're borrowing talent? Mark says, I know we're not near it yet, but who do you want / will win the men's and women's Money in the Bank? My hope, I would love it if the men's Money in the Bank was won by Finn Balor or Damian Priest. Imagine then for a moment that Seth Rollins does win the World Heavyweight Championship and is immediately cashed in on by Finn Balor or Damian Priest. Or Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio. If there is a God, Dominic Mysterio is winning this Money in the Bank. For the women's, it's harder to pick out an individual. I would love to set the cat amongst the pigeons and give it to Trish Stratus, I'll tell you that. Eric says, would you want to see Omos in the Triple M? I think it'd be entertaining enough. And if it's entertaining, I want it. Joey says, I hate quick matches. These guys should have been given 15 minutes at least. I agree with you there. I agree with you, but Triple H's system is very clear. Half an hour per match. Well, half an hour block, including a match and also all the other stuff as well. Leon gives the match a 6. Mark said, rating it to 6 out of 10 because Imperium didn't win. And Eric says, Sammy in the Bank would be amazing too. As a tag team champion, I find it very unlikely that's going to happen. Hey, Moxie, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. And Sean says, I say Montez has the best frog splash. I agree with that. It's a work of art, that frog splash. Absolutely beautiful. We currently have 41 viewers as we head into the end of the first hour. If we have 41 viewers, can we get those likes up a little bit further? Because right now we only have 24. If you've not yet done so, please consider giving us a thumbs up. It does help the channel grow, really helps us to find new viewers, new subscribers, and helps get a little bit closer to the point when myself, Tom Colohue, can go full time. My target, my aim for the end of this year is 5,000 subscribers. Currently, we're on 2,419. Joey says, I think Imperium should have got the win there. Treated like jobbers, I feel. They have been treated like jobbers, but that's because they're moving over to the other side. I still strongly remember Nia Jax beating the ever-living crap out of Charlotte Flair because Charlotte Flair was going to SmackDown. It does happen that way. Leon says, I'd like to see LA Knight win the men's Money in the Bank and Chelsea Green or Dakota Kai win women's Money in the Bank. Dakota Kai, I think, is a very good shout. LA Knight was on the dark match tonight. I don't think the push that people keep saying is going to happen is going to happen. I'd like to be wrong. This is definitely one of those occasions where I'd very much like to be wrong. I just don't really think I am, unfortunately. Moxie says, just finishing watching Spoiler Warning, can I say I missed the squad? Yeah, we had this conversation earlier, and I think it's worth revisiting. I did have a system on Twitch when we were still starting out, we were still growing, and I had no job and was struggling to pay rent. When for every subscriber, I would do 10 squats. And the first time that I introduced that, we did 280 squats. And I couldn't finish the 280 squats. My soul hurt. But yeah, I'm considering around about my birthday time, so July time, maybe bringing something like that back as a one-off. Just for a bit of a random stream and just to go a little bit crazy in it. So that anyone who becomes a channel member, you know what I'm going for? Because I am, of course, thinking about doing some members-only live streams. Same as Spoiler Warning, but not necessarily sharing news, but answering questions. I think that would be a good perk for channel membership, and you'd also get the password to it if you're a subscriber on Twitch as well. I'd make sure that happens too. So if you become a channel member, or if you're a subscriber on Twitch, or if you gift a subscription, because that happened a lot in the previous effort, because we actually got up to over 100 subscribers at a time when we were regularly getting about 12. So it's a very good place for me to be. I'll say that. It did help pay my rent by quite a massive margin. So as a one-off show, if you guys want to cause me pain by gifting channel memberships and the like, you know how to do it. Serial says, I wish they would start pushing LA Knight. He's not getting any younger, and I feel they're going to miss something big with him. There is certainly a consensus to what you're saying. A lot of people do agree with you. He's got a great look and a great voice and a great promo. Honestly, that should be all you need. You know, make some changes. Other people have last minute changes thrust upon them. Give me a last minute change that suits LA Knight. We are getting ourselves a recap of Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar's feud, contained within a little recap of Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Can I just say, it's a real shame we didn't get Cody and Brock versus Roman and Solo, because that would have been a hell of a match. Just beat him up at the end. Brock's supposed to hate Roman, just beat Cody up afterwards. Joey says, I saw some videos on Twitter. LA Knight got a huge pop from the crowd. Always a good spot. Eric says, I think I would love to see LA Knight for the men, Chelsea for the women, or Dom Dom in the bank. Yeah. Joey says, a membership stream would be awesome, maybe around Money in the Bank time, or a big pay-per-view, you should do one. I am starting to think, once a month, like a pay-per-view preview or something like that, just a members-only stream. I'm close to the point now of having 50 members, which was sort of the deadline I set myself, because I don't want to organise members-only streams once a month and have 2 or 3 people there. Like, you guys can always catch up, but I want enough people there to sort of justify it. And we've really only just started with channel memberships. I'll get the exact number for you. We've really just started with channel memberships, so it's a huge help to the channel. It also is something that can help me get a mortgage, so help me buy a house. So this is quite important stuff. Total members at the minute is 29. We did drop off a few gift memberships quite recently, but we're at 29. My target is around 50. So if we were doing a stream where we encourage people to become members and then we launch it, do one and then the other, I think that could be a lot of fun. And also, more perks. Eric says, Tom, what's the beef between Bayley and Michael Cole? Completely imaginary. And Justin says, what did LA Knight do to Vince for all this hate? Well, he didn't. Triple H hasn't been pushing him. Triple H has been in charge of creative since August. One of the first things he did was change Max Dupree to LA Knight, and what he did afterwards was very little. Put him up against Bray Wyatt in a match he was guaranteed to lose, and then forgot about him for a bit. This is not Vince McMahon's problem. This is very much Triple H's. We have to stop giving Triple H a pass when he makes choices. So that was a long recap for Cody versus Brock. I still expect this to be the main event of Backlash. We know Cody Rhodes is here, so logically he's now going to cut a promo into about 20 past. We're going to get another commercial break, aren't we? Before he actually makes it to the ring, we're going to get another commercial. Because he has to get to the ring and then start stripping off, naturally. It's always hard to say, very hard to say if Cody's over. Because ultimately he doesn't get a big pop. And then the music kicks in and we get to the point where he does get the big pop. And then you think, oh, this guy's really over. But until then, there's not that much hype. Let's see. Alright, he's waiting for it. He's doing the CM Punk thing. It's clobbering time. Cody's really over. Like, he's obviously really over once you get to that point of the song. Sean says, same can be said about Alexa. Triple H turns a heel, loses to Bianca, then isn't seen for a while. Yep, we have not seen Alexa Bliss for quite a while now. Joey says, if you ever get exclusive info for NXT EU, a membership stream would be good for that, I think. If I ever get exclusive info for NXT EU, I would be sharing that during spoiler warning. I will not be putting any news behind paywalls. I will not be putting any news behind membership streams. You can ask your questions, I will answer them, and you'll get plenty of exclusive stuff, but news on this channel will always be free. Most of you here will already be fully aware of the amount of times that I report something here and then weeks later it pops up behind someone else's paywall. And it is infuriating. I believe in free press. I do not believe in paywalling news. Though there is quite a bit of analysis and breakdowns on the members only section. There are a few members only videos which break down how I get the information I get, when I knew what, and how I was able to essentially leverage that. So there's quite a few bits there that I think you guys would really enjoy as well. Justin, thank you kindly for that very generous donation. I very much do appreciate it. Thank you. I know you're fairly new to the streams, and I'm very glad that you joined, and always glad to see your name pop up and ask a few questions, mate. Good to see you. I hope you're good. Mark says, did I hear Eddie Dennis is back? Yes. Not as a wrestler, though. James says, lots of pyro, let's go. And Joey says, that's good. I respect that. Thank you kindly. That's my hope. I believe in a free press. I believe in transparency. I do not believe, as so many do, that news should be profitable. I want to report news to inform, to get the news out there. It's why I don't get annoyed at the idea of people stealing my work. You can't steal information, particularly if it's accurate. Other people should be confirming my news, but instead they're refusing to mention that I actually reported it. And they're putting it behind their paywall, so you'll pay them for the privilege of learning what you could learn here for free. This always happens. Under the lights, my face starts to dry up, my nose gets really itchy. Cody Rhodes is in the ring cutting a promo against Brock. About gatekeeping, apparently. Double A's Arn Anderson, by the way. Don't think that'll surprise anyone. Kingdom, of course, was Adam Cole. Joey says, are we ever able to find out where Zero News gets his sources from? No, because most of the information isn't sourced. It's just assumed. We did an analysis of this, Joey. I think you'll remember. After the Royal Rumble, we did an analysis of all the fake news that happened in the build-up to the Royal Rumble. Zero News' name came up a lot. A lot. There wasn't anyone, and I promise you there was no one reporting to him that The Rock and Steve Austin were going to have a stare down at the Royal Rumble. Nobody told him that, because it was never the plan. Justin says, that's why we love you, Tom. Appreciate that, Justin. Very nice to hear. Joey says, do you think he secretly subscribes to paywalls? I don't think he secretly subscribes to paywalls. I think he openly subscribes to paywalls and then shares the information, which is a very effective way of doing things. I think also there are ways to get around paywalls. There are very easy ways to get around paywalls. One might suggest you show me a 10-foot paywall and I will show you a 12-foot ladder. Mark says, Eddie Dennis did a lot in progress, didn't he? He was big in the UK before NXT UK, if I'm right. You are. He was a big name when he got to NXT UK, and to be fair, was already quite late on in his career. I've met him, I've interviewed him. He's a good guy. This is a damn good promo from Cody. The mention of finishing the story is a bit out of left field because he's not going to. But ultimately, good promo. I like the name drop of Arn Anderson. The idea of claiming the kingdom is good. Brock Lesnar being in his way, which he absolutely is. That's good stuff. Joey says, I feel like a lot of those journalists do that so they don't have to actually put in the work to get the info. I mean, what easier way is there? You go behind everyone else's paywalls and just re-report it. Again, he doesn't sound over until that part of the song. It's very confusing. Sean says, do you think we see John Cena anymore this year? No, I don't. His appearance at WrestleMania basically guarantees we don't need to see him again for a while. Shinsuke Nakamura has been interviewed by Kayla Braxton backstage. This will be our 2 to 2:30 match. High chance we're going to get 2 commercial breaks in this one. And I'm going to be honest, I don't fancy Karrion Kross' chances. I really don't. This is the relaunch of Shinsuke, but all I'll say as regards what I reported earlier, they're watching Karrion Kross. They are watching him. Moxie says, I feel Cody versus Brock will be like Seth versus Brock at SummerSlam 2019. Personally, I go Extreme Rules against John Cena in 2012. That's what they're going for. Mark says, I'd love to interview some of the UK wrestlers one day. I was very lucky in order to get that opportunity. I don't necessarily think I'll get that opportunity again. I'll say that. Joey says, I like Trent Seven. Would it be nice if WWE got to keep him? I agree with that. Very good guy. Mark says, also don't say anything bad about them through a paywall as they will come after you. Yeah, you know that one personally, don't you, mate? James says, I'm playing FIFA. Can't even watch this match. You can't even watch the match? Why not? It's Nakamura. It's Shinsuke, mate. Up next, so we are having a commercial break. Basically, we just have the darkest possible attires. I wonder if we'll get the black and white intro. Definitely a battle of the fancy intros, I'll tell you that. I feel like I've barely actually watched SmackDown, and it's a shame because I feel like this has been a good SmackDown so far. Good promos from Bianca, good promo from Cody, very good opening promo. Very excited for the main event. Match quality's been high. It's moved at a very high tempo. We've just got non-stop commercial breaks. Leon's never been a big fan of Kross. All I've seen him do so far is get beaten up by Drew McIntyre. We need more than that. I don't know. Oh, right. Yeah, gotcha. Sean says, I wish Shinsuke would bring Lee England Jr. back to do his entrance unless Lee England costs too much. He's not a part of the touring schedule. Lee England Jr. does have his own things to be getting on with, and he certainly can't be travelling with the WWE just for the entrance. Sean says, with Shinsuke on Miz TV, do you think that is his first Raw feud? The Miz isn't having a lot of feuds at the moment. He's having a lot of matches, but not a lot of feuds. So I think he'll have a match with The Miz, and thus further remind everyone of his credentials. But I do think the big feud is going to be Shinsuke versus Gunter. Shinsuke versus heel Drew McIntyre would also be quite fun, I'll say that. I'd very much be behind that. Joey says, did you ever try to work for one of the wrestling journalist companies in the UK before you started your channel? Yeah, so I've actually got a history of all of the big UK ones after a fashion. Starting with What Culture, I applied to work with What Culture and never got any sort of response. Never got any sort of response. Shortly after this, I was made aware that there was a news writing job coming up at Cultaholic. So I applied for that. I didn't get a response at the time. Later on, I was having a discussion on Twitter with Alex McCarthy, and Adam Pacitti saw that I basically said I applied and didn't get a response, and said, can you send it again? Because I pride myself in responding to people. So I found the email and forwarded it on, and he let me know that the job was still available at the time, but it would require me to move to Newcastle, which I wasn't going to do. So I let them know immediately, okay, I understand, unfortunately it doesn't really work for me, so I'm going to withdraw my name. Everything good there. And then it was, you're going to like this, February 2020, I was approached by Luis Dango. I was approached via DMs by Luis Dango, good thing I'm male, and he asked me if I wanted to start work for Wrestle Talk. I met with Ollie Davis in the February, so a month before we all got locked down, and spoke to him about what I would like to do. Essentially what I wanted to do was this. I pitched him interviews, a live wrestling news show, so spoiler warning, that was happening pretty much every day. And he took that away, and then we got locked down, and I had a very, very bad lockdown. And then Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily launched, which was pretty much exactly what I was pitching, and I still have the emails mentioning that. So yeah, I've kept receipts on that one. But yeah, so what I was doing at Sportskeeda was the previews and the news show for about an hour, and Yeah, then Wrestling Daily launched. And did not involve me. So yeah, that's my experiences with What Culture, Cultaholic and Wrestle Talk. All of which I feel really sums up all of which really I feel sums up the reasons why I'm very happy that I didn't get any single one of those jobs. Mark says Shinsuke versus Gunter is going to be so hard hitting. Absolutely it is. Eric says this about the death threats you received. Kind of. There are only two people in the wrestling world. Only two people in the wrestling world that had my phone number. And in October 2020, while still locked down, I started getting death threats to my personal phone number. I won't name names, and I don't know for certain which one leaked the information, but the information got out there. Joey says Alex McCarthy got his show approved, but you couldn't. That makes no sense. I can't say that I couldn't. I can't sit here and say that I couldn't. What I said was that we got locked down, and I struggled in lockdown. My brain was not really in it. So I got a little distant. And I'm guessing they got a better offer. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm a big fan of Stephanie Chase, who worked on Wrestling Daily. Huge fan of hers. We've worked together on this channel and we've worked together on other channels as well. Very, very talented. Very, very creative. Very artistic. And very good analysis. She was part of Wrestling Daily. I'm a big fan of SP3. I've been on his channel a number of times. We've worked together in a number of different outlets. Good, talented man. I was still not particularly unhappy when Wrestling Daily was cancelled. I don't entirely understand why it was, because I guarantee you that channel was making them a lot more money than it was costing them. A lot more. A lot more. Moxie is suggesting Shinsuke Nakamura versus Damian Priest, which I'd like. Sean says, was Sportskeeda how you got with PW Torch? Nope. Sportskeeda, I started there in 2018. PW Torch, I started there in 2016 in January. PW Torch was my very first wrestling job when I had 67 Twitter subscribers, Twitter followers, and no one had ever heard of me. Wade Keller gave me a shot to write a comedy article called The Roman Reigns-ometer. And you know what? I had a great time writing that. An absolutely great time. Since then, obviously, we've transferred to the podcast, Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. I've essentially been with PW Torch the whole time. A little break where I focused on Sportskeeda, because Sportskeeda paid, and PW Torch is volunteer. So yeah, PW Torch is still my main thing, and I still laugh at the fact that if you search my name, one of the first things you find is a Reddit thread saying, this guy got fired from PW Torch, and I literally am still working for PW Torch. Well, people believe that crap. People really do. Mark says, how would you go about talking to the UK wrestlers? Would I DM them or ask the company they wrestle for? You'd need to, depends on the company. You would need to go to the company that they're talking to, they're wrestling for first and foremost, unless they're a free agent. So for example, Eric Bischoff, I'd say send him a message on Instagram. You're probably going to get a response. But make sure you're not just going to be like, hi, I want to interview you about what's going on right now. Make it fun. You've got to remember, he's going to get a lot of requests. This is just using Eric Bischoff as an example. He's going to get a lot of requests from people essentially saying, hi, can you come on my podcast and just be angry at AEW for me? What he's not going to get a lot of is interesting things that are actually interesting for him as well. Joey says, did you ever consider taking legal action against them for the leaking of your number? I cannot say for certain who it was. I cannot say for certain who it was. I know that there was only 2 people who had it. I know that it was leaked. Okay? I don't know for certain who it was. Andy says, how are the people at Wrestle Talk? I was watching Wrestle Talk before I found you. I just watch you now. I liked them. I liked Ollie, certainly. He seemed a very good guy. I felt a really good meeting. Took a lot of notes, and we had a lot of fun. There's quite a few of them that I really quite liked. Don't really talk to them now. I suspect if I sent them a DM, they wouldn't be happy to see me. So I just don't bother. We are 2/3 of the way through SmackDown now. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Karrion Kross is still ongoing, or at least it's just kicking off. We will have a middle of the second hour draw segment. I'm not sure at this point who it's going to be, to be completely honest, because we've had most of the big names already. Maybe the Usos, maybe Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And then, of course, we will have our main event, which will be Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio versus Zelina Vega and Rey Mysterio. I certainly am not someone who's going to sit here and say, watch this, don't watch this. I don't believe that we should be so narrow as to just sort of follow one person. There's a lot of really good content out there with really creative people. And I highly suggest trying out a lot of different content creators, because there's good stuff out there, and I really want to sort of promote a lot of very talented people. Eve drops in here quite a lot, Pro Wrestling Eve, and they had a show on tonight on YouTube, and I definitely want to say they do quality content that you can just watch on YouTube, and it's very much worth your time, I feel. We also have Steve, the SCW Wrestling Channel. You've got Mark, who's a content creator as well. There's plenty of people who create quality content in this channel alone and in this community that I can highly recommend checking out. Megan is a streamer as well, a gaming streamer, that I do suggest you can check out too. There's quite a lot of talented people that I really like to promote and share the work of. Bad Bunny, thank you, Mark. See, that's what I mean. Bad Bunny, there's a draw segment for you. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. Absolutely right. Yeah, there's quite a lot of people with a lot of talent who I want to put over. I want to put over Stephanie Chase. I want to put over Rick Ucchino. People that I've worked with in the past who are very, very talented. I've had Denise Salcedo on this channel. We've got some very good people on this channel whose work you can definitely check out. And my hope is that over time, I'll be adding to that. Maybe we'll have more of Ed. Maybe we'll have more of Lauren that you guys can check out. Maybe one day we'll get Megan on the channel too. That's the plan anyway. That's the plan. Joey says, it sounds like it's hard to get in over. They probably want people with a lot of experience, or maybe it's favoritism. Maybe it's both. I don't really question the idea that they want to hire people they know. In this field, your reputation means a lot. Unfortunately, the same people who are constantly saying, oh, dangerous suplex. The same people who are constantly trying to drag people down are the same people who are hiring. So the big job creators, they're the ones actively destroying the reputation of the small jobs creators. And I just want to make it clear, my plan here, once I go full time, is to be a jobs creator. I want to hire an editor. I want to hire people for other channels. I want to hire people to work the gaming side, the football side. That's the plan. I'm not full-time yet, but I'm also thinking about merch designers. Sai's been working with me on that one for a while. I'm also thinking about a website where people can write up reports and news and opinions and stuff like that. A world of independent journalism is available. I just need it to the YouTube and the Twitch to be making enough to justify the outlay where I can hire employees. And I got to be honest, I'll be coming for the people here. They're the people I'm looking at. So, by the way, if I do launch a website, let me know if you'd be interested in helping out. As I say, it would be a paid opportunity. It would be a paid opportunity. So it wouldn't be a case of, me saying, come and do this and blah, blah, blah. I'd make sure it's good pay, well worth it. And you'd basically be making as much as you're earning for the channel. Mark says, I think you have a great idea to have a game or something on my channel to get wrestlers or people in the industry on. Yeah, Yeah, I just need to think of a way. Talk to him. Start reaching out and talk to him. A lot of wrestlers, Leo Rush, I know, has his email address in his Twitter bio. Just go looking. Just go looking. Leon Wood, nice to know. Yeah, I'll be looking for contributors, news, opinions, and I'll be transparent and say this article made this much money and here it is. That's the plan anyway. That's the plan. This is a longer match than I expected it to be. A lot of back and forth so far. Karrion Kross actually looks pretty good here. He's throwing some pretty strong suplexes. He's gloating a little bit too much. Shinsuke Nakamura, who the match is definitely all about, he's helping the build. Mark says, I'd love to do something in football. If you're doing it or if you're just doing wrestling, I would like to try. Peter says, I know I don't upload the same content as you, Tom, but would love some advice. Absolutely, Peter. Are you on the Discord? If you're on the Discord, can I just say I am happy to try and offer some mentoring or something. Mark, if you wouldn't mind, if you're okay talking a little bit about what myself and you have been working on. Hopefully that's something that Peter might be interested in. Shinsuke Nakamura has pinned Karrion Kross after a quite long and fierce match. It's a bit strong style, a bit aggressive. I think that's the most impressive Karrion Kross has looked. I definitely think he looked very impressive there. But Shinsuke is a story, and Shinsuke himself definitely added in. Karrion Kross holding his nose as he limps away. It's a good sell. It's a good sell. Jonathan said it was a good match. It was a good match. I'm giving that one an 8. The crowd were into it. I honestly had a couple of moments where I thought maybe Shinsuke is not winning, which is always a good thing. And he says, I think Kross needs to shave his head again, make him more intimidating. And Peter says, wow, Kross can wrestle. Yeah, Peter, if you just send me a message on the Discord, show me your channel and I can certainly talk to it. There's also, I don't think Horsey's here, but we've had a few chats as well. He's said to me in the past that he's taken a few tips from me and stuff. I've certainly watched some of his work and done much the same. First and foremost, the thing I always say is know what everyone else is doing. Andy says an 8, good match. Leon also says 8, best Kross match I've seen. Jonathan says he needs to go back to the bald look and make him look more like a badass. Sean says, was Triple H a fan of Leo Rush? Is he someone that would be brought back? I don't believe he's very interested. I don't think he's very interested in being brought back. Sean says, Wade called Shinsuke beating Karrion a huge win. It wasn't huge. It wasn't. They keep trying to make out like Shinsuke Nakamura beating Kross is a big deal. It's not a big deal. Karrion Kross, unfortunately, is not a big deal. His time in the WWE since returning has been getting beaten up by Drew McIntyre, 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 and then getting beaten up by Shinsuke Nakamura. Joey says Kross looked really good in this match. I agree. I think they kind of let him go a little bit. It wasn't all about Scarlett, and some of those suplexes, I suspect he's been told not to do some of his suplex range, but Shinsuke Nakamura's not going to care. He wants you to hurt him. He believes in strong style. Like, he's very much a toss me daddy sort of guy. I mean, aren't we all? Everyone loves to get tossed by daddy. As we head into our final half hour, one last time I'm going to say we currently have 29 viewers and 28 likes. If you haven't hit like yet, please do consider hitting that thumbs up. It does make a major difference and really helps the growth of the channel. We've already had 659 views though, which is a great showing so far, considering that the general rule is that you'll get maybe 10% of your subscriber count watching. So I'm expected to get about 240 viewers. Instead, I'm close to 700. By the end of this stream, I probably will be at 700, which I'm pretty happy about. Pretty happy about overall. So a huge thank you to all of you. Please do remember to hit like. Chat rate's been nice and heavy as well. I'm always glad when we get into little conversations like this about wrestling journalism, about interviews, about my experiences. I've been in this game for a while. I've interviewed names like Triple H, like William Regal, and, Cesaro, Rey Mysterio. It's sort of a part of my life I've put to one side and focused on other things because, as I say, lockdown was not easy for me and it did change a lot of things. But, I think it's definitely worth sharing. Joey says, I think it was easier for Triple H to book the NXT talent during Black and Gold since they ran one show a week in an easier pay-per-view schedule. True, and it was only a 1 hour show as well. It would be easier. Eric says, what's your favourite soda? I am very much a cherry Coke guy. Very much a cherry Coke guy. And he says, let the Kross rebuild begin. Hopefully they have some ideas for him because that's my big concern. I just don't feel they have any real plans for him. Mark gave the match an 8 out of 10 as well. For that really helped both of them. I did mention earlier on, I did report earlier on, that the WWE, particularly Triple H, was keeping an eye on Karrion Kross for this match to see if he was able to do what they were hoping for. I think he'll have impressed people backstage there. Joey says the crowds too are much different in Full Sail compared to the main roster. Yeah, it was a captive audience. They were willing to cheer pretty much anything. Eric says, do you think William Regal would manage Charlie? No. Oh, you're an Iron Brew man, Peter. An Iron Brew guy. Moxie says, finally a good match from Kross. Bailey says, how deep is the WWE do not rehire list? Vince was always ready to bring anyone back if it could make him money, but there are people that aren't coming back. It's pretty deep. Now, Vince actually, and you're going to be confused when I say this, Vince had a shorter do not hire list than Triple H does. For example, Hulk Hogan, Goldberg, Triple H don't want him. Moxie suggests Kross versus Bobby. I think Karrion Kross needs to wrestle someone he can beat. I think someone he can beat is the right call. I'd maybe start with someone like a Grayson Waller. Give him beating Grayson Waller, but give Grayson Waller plenty of promo time to establish himself. We're getting a recap on the drafted NXT superstars. I actually forgot Pretty Deadly were added to this tag division. Pretty Deadly versus Street Profits is going to be a lot of fun. Pretty Deadly versus the Usos is going to be a lot of fun as well. And Moxie says, I think they might do Kross versus Edge or something. That would be the worst thing they could possibly do because Edge does not give back. He does not give back. Now pushing Grayson Waller. James says Kross versus Bray. It would make the most sense to me. Eric, I'm going to go ahead and no comment that one. A lot's happened since and I don't really want to get into any of it. If someone else wants to talk to you about it, they're welcome to, but I have no interest in having that conversation. Cameron Grimes, there's not any backstage, but he's been cleaned up a little bit. Hi, Baron Corbin, remember him? I've reported previously that at the moment they're struggling to come up with a storyline for Baron Corbin. It looks like he's just going to be the gatekeeper at the moment. Joey says, I hope Cameron Grimes gets a good push in the mid-card division. He's really talented. Under Triple H, as a general rule, if you come into the division, you're going to pick up losses. A lot of people start on their back under Triple H, and I think Cameron Grimes is going to be one of them. Logically, it looks like we're going to get Cameron Grimes versus Baron Corbin next week. Corbin's going to do the favours. Baron Corbin is a free agent and can go to both shows until someone decides that they want to keep him. I suspect no one's going to want to keep him for a while. But that does open a few different opportunities. We are booked for next week. Cameron Grimes debuts next week. Mark says, do not disrespect Pretty Deadly. They're the best looking tag team ever. Breezango. Give me Pretty Deadly in Fashion Files. Now I'm interested. Eric says Wade hates Grayson worse than Bailey and Cole. Sean says Wesley is 36 days from becoming the longest reigning North American champion, passing a guy whose last name was Dream. Does Wesley break the record? Yeah. Moxie says, Tom, in my opinion, I think at SummerSlam the main event will be Roman versus Bobby. Who do you think will face Roman at SummerSlam? Fantasy booking, king. I think Bobby's a good shout. I still personally think Cody might be the guy, though. Sean says, so Corbin could appear in NXT? Yes. Yeah. If they come up with any sort of storyline and they just need a body, Baron Corbin will be available. It's actually not a bad spot to be in. As this is the go-home show, they're now running down the entirety of the Backlash card. Our main event is up next, and we do have 2 more commercial breaks, so yay. No real build to the United States Championship. And can I just say, very telling that every single match graphic features the face of Bad Bunny. Every single one. Leon says Grimes is excellent. Joey says if Vince saw Pretty Deadly, he'd probably turn them into male strippers. Yeah, he's done that before. I reckon they could get that over. Mark says Breezango could lace their tops. They could. They were very fashionable. Okay, we're going via the methods of social media to Priest and Bad Bunny. Already getting physical. Triple H trying to keep them apart. I know that these two trained together for a long time to get Bad Bunny ready for his WrestleMania match. They've been rehearsing, I can report that. They've been rehearsing extensively. And there's a lot of excitement about what they're putting together. Eric says, I say, send Corbin back to NXT. He can do something, and I could see him beating Melo. I cannot see him beating Melo. I definitely don't necessarily see that. I think Baron Corbin's one of those where he's going to do the favours for a while, and then they'll come up with a story for him. But it'll start with the favours. Zelina Vega and Rey Mysterio on the way down to the ring. Peach says, has anyone figured out Omos versus Seth yet? I haven't. I think Seth's losing. I genuinely think Seth's losing. Which should tell you pretty much everything about the direction that they're going in. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. Sean says, since Bronson is on Raw, he won't win the US title. I mean, he might. He'd just have to give it up. Logically, it has to be Austin Theory or Bobby Lashley. And then that feud is over. Bailey says, on the do not rehire list discussion, I always saw 2 groups, the we don't want him group and the no chance in hell group. CM Punk would be in group 1, Velveteen Dream is in group 2. To be fair, CM Punk's in both groups. Triple H really does not ever want to work with CM Punk again. I cannot stress enough, he never wants to do that again. We are in our penultimate commercial break. We haven't even seen Judgment Day come down to the ring yet. Lots of commercial break. It feels like there's too many now. Every 10 minutes seems excessive. It does. But I'm still excited for the match. I think it's the best way to build towards the pay-per-view. It feels like a go-home show, even though Dominic and Rey aren't going to be wrestling. They, I'd imagine, will still be in and around ringside. You know for a fact that Dominic Mysterio will be ringside for Rhea Ripley, because why wouldn't you? Sean says, wouldn't be surprised if Ryback is on that list. Yep, nobody wants to work with Ryback. Del Rio, also very much on the list of people they do not want to work with again. Jack Swagger. I know he's got a different name now, but Jack Swagger's a name on the list. It's quite extensive. Joey says, imagine Omos being Roman's opponent at Night of Champions. I would hate it, but also it's something they would do. Eric says, let's have Chaos Omos in the bank. That I wouldn't hate. Joey says, I wonder what Triple H's reaction was when Punk showed up backstage. He dragged him into a meeting and said, can you please leave? That was the reaction. I don't have the full details. All I really know is that in that meeting with Triple H one-on-one, CM Punk was told, yeah, go away. That's all I really need to know. That's very much all I need to know. Joey, I don't know about Alex Riley, if I'm honest. That was before my time, before I had any contacts to speak to. So at this point, honestly, I can't really speak on that one. What I will say is that quite a lot of people do have beef with John Cena. Sean, I've reported previously about the situation with Mandy Rose. I've made it very clear who wanted her fired and who did not. That should tell you everything you need about that list. Eric, what do you mean social media has gone too far? Annie says, what did Jack Swagger do? Lots of stuff. And James says, still don't get why Punk came. He was on the flight, ran into quite a few WWE wrestlers and decided he wanted to talk to some of the people backstage and try and calm some issues. I think ultimately the situation with the Elite has humbled him a little bit. But it's CM Punk and he's being rewarded for it with his own show, so I'm not entirely sure how long that's going to last. You know how it is. I've always called him a flight risk and I stand by it. Called him a flight risk way when he joined WWE. We all knew it was coming. A lot of people act like it was out of nowhere. It was not out of nowhere. We all knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming. Joey says, I don't think anyone in WWE likes Ryback. There are people who like Ryback. There are a ton of Trump supporters in the WWE, and that causes some issues. Roman Reigns will return next week to start building towards Night of Champions. The break is over. He will be returning just in time to deal with the fallout of the 6-man tag match at Backlash. Of course, he's also returning just in time for the World Heavyweight Championship tournament to start. I can't imagine that's a coincidence, can you? Bailey says, CM Punk knows his time at AEW won't end well and is looking for options. We all know it is coming. The rumours are half true as regards a tag team championship match. It is not a Backlash. It is next week on SmackDown. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Dakota Kai and Bailey. To be clear, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are not on SmackDown. It looks like these tag team championships will potentially be merged with the NXT ones, because it looks like they are going to be cross-brand still. Sean says, do you think Roman will address the Usos losing at WrestleMania? No, he already had that moment. He just didn't do anything with it. Eric says, I imagine he also wanted to say hi. Okay. Perry says, I think Punk has matured and understands now life is short and the heat he has made isn't necessary anymore. I hope so. I really do hope so. If he can smooth out some feathers, like he attempted to do with The Miz and people seem to suggest he tried to do with Triple H, I think there's potential there. Vince McMahon was never angry at CM Punk. And in fact, CM Punk was much more angry at Triple H than he was at Vince McMahon. The issue was between Triple H and Punk, not Vince McMahon. Vince was always okay with Punk. So if they can... if CM Punk can get a good deal going with Triple H, never say never. Never say never. Mark says, I do not understand Tony Khan letting Punk getting away with it and then give him his own show. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. We cannot make assumptions. We can't make those assumptions. So until the details come out, we might have to just wait on that one. Rhea Ripley and Dominic are just scarily romantic. Their chemistry is incredible. Especially considering Rhea Ripley, at least we know, is in a separate relationship. And they just have this amazing chemistry together. They are dragging themselves upwards. Real talent. Speaking at all times. I'm very excited for this match. Joey says, any current WWE wrestlers that are Trump supporters? I ain't giving names. But certainly there are some people who it's actually quite obvious about that we may have seen earlier on at ringside. Parrish says, Vince loves his button pushes who can back it up and make money, i.e. HBK. Steve Austin as well, to be fair. He built a company on it. Yeah, absolutely. Eric says, don't forget Dom is engaged too. Yep. Chemistry is incredible. Very nice bit of wrestling from Zelina and Rhea there. They need to get physical because they need to essentially communicate that Zelina Vega actually does have a chance here. She needs to show that she can compete. And Rhea's going to sell for her. Joey says, I'd imagine Triple H was even more pissed at Punk after that shoot interview with Colt Cabana. Yeah, that was the bridge burner. In many ways, Triple H is still blaming CM Punk for the boos that arrived for Roman Reigns. And he doesn't have a problem cross-branding women's tag team titles. Certainly offers more opportunities. And Perry says, because Rhea is with the same guy who Dom's sister... Oh yeah, no, sorry. I needed a minute to realise that's a storyline. Yeah, I needed a minute there. that was actually all storyline. Horsey, I was talking about you a little earlier. Hi Tom, how are you? I'll be back properly in 2 to 3 weeks. Just a bit busy at the moment with a treble push. Wanted to come to support. Smash those likes. Thank you very much, Horsey. Appreciate that. Please be aware I might not be here for another couple of weeks. I'm having a bit of a break for 2 weeks after the 8th. So we may not cross paths too much, but I'll be thinking of you, mate. After all, big moments potentially coming for you. Joey says, were they wrestling or just standing on the outside and need more hints? No. Barry says, why I think Vega should pin Rhea tonight as she will lose tomorrow. I don't think they'll let Rhea get pinned. I really don't. I think this is one of those moments where Ray pins Dominic again. Hello, connecting people for wrestling. Hope you're enjoying Las Vegas reggae. Appreciate it, Horsey, mate. Great to see you. Hopefully you're having a good time. 10 minutes left of SmackDown. We're into our final commercial break. Bit by bit, they've put an okay show together here. And I'm enjoying the match so far. They do need to establish Zelina Vega as a threat. They're not doing that. But it does feel a little bit like the Ronda Rousey debut match, where the men are there just sort of to throw each other about and distract attention for a bit. This is all about the women. Considering it's the only women's match, that's probably a very good thing. Sean said that Punk and John Cena made up. Punk and John Cena never had any real issues. Punk and John Cena genuinely liked and respected each other, to my knowledge. They both are very different people, sure, but when it works, it works. Perry says, 31 likes, but many people in the chat, so hit the like button and share this man's content, people. Thank you, Parrish. We are at a pretty good spot right now. 747 views so far. Pretty happy with that overall. We have gained so far today 8 new subscribers, which is a great number as well, and really does help the overall growth. As you guys know, I'm hoping one day to make this full-time. On current projections, I'll be full-time in 5 years. So the full 5, I'll call it. And I'm aiming towards 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's a tall order, but someone's got to try. And I'm absolutely trying. So thanks, Parrish. And thank you everyone who does encourage likes, subscribes, and the like. Every little does help. Oh, good to know, Horsey. Good to know. Yeah, tomorrow, of course, for anyone who isn't already aware, is Backlash, and I will be hosting a full live stream. It will be starting with the pre-show. That is at 7 p.m. Eastern time in the US, 12 midnight over here in the UK. I'm considering, for those who don't know, I'm considering popping up on TikTok in a live in the build-up, so not during the pre-show, and just giving my predictions there because I've never really experimented with TikTok live, but I do have access to it. Lately, my TikTok's been a little bit on fire. We're getting 1,000+ views each day, which is a number I'm pretty happy with. I've got to be honest, number I'm pretty happy with. And we're getting some really good engagement over there recently. 20 or 30 likes, comments combined. Pretty happy with it. So if I'm able to do that, and I certainly will be doing so. If you're not already following me on TikTok, maybe that's something you want to do. It's up to you. Joey says maybe you could cover some of the indie shows over there in the UK since it seems to be back in business again once you're able to. Yeah, I'm certainly thinking of that. As I say, Eve has popped in here a couple of times, Pro Wrestling Eve, and I'd like to get to one of their shows soon. But it really depends on my schedule. Ultimately, I don't want to miss out on a SmackDown watch party and a spoiler warning because I'm going to watch wrestling elsewhere, unless maybe it's a situation where I'm able to get some interviews and stuff. Joey says, I remember when Vince thought Mason Ryan would be the next Batista. Ooh. Perry says, how about this? Ref bump tomorrow where Vega has Rhea pinned only for Dom to help Rhea get the win at the end. Makes Vega strong, and gets Rhea and Dom mega heat. I kind of do think that's going to happen, to be honest. I don't think it'll necessarily be ref bump, but you've got Dominic, and Dominic's definitely going to factor in. But it's one of the reasons I think Ray's going to pin Dominic tonight. Dominic looks a bit... I don't know if he's blown up or just hurt. Or just a bit sweaty. It does happen. Mark says we need to get you full-time quicker. I mean, there are ways and means. It's why I always encourage the chat rate and the likes and the subscribers, etc. And there are ways and means. But overall, Mark, I'm very happy. Very happy with the growth of the channel so far. Also, he said, you'll do in less than 5 years, mate. I'm sure you work so hard and deserve it 1,000%. Thank you kindly. Stun double. Oh, okay. Did not know that one. Bailey says, will WWE ever reconsider intergender matches? Rhea will run out of women to beat up at some point. They are considering it. It's a constant conversation. But unfortunately, I just don't see it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Rhea versus Drew McIntyre is a money match. It is a big money match. But the visual of Drew McIntyre claymoring Rhea Ripley is just not something the WWE want. They can get away with it, Randy Orton. Barry says maybe Dom really can't take the Latino heat. We're about to find out. Well, his dad's just beating the crap out. Ah, no, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. Yeah, Horsey, our sarcasm will stack. You got to be careful of that. Yeah, 2 times multiplier. That was a bad Hurricane Rana, but Dom sold it. They really want to get that 10 count going, don't they? Sean says, Candice has wrestled men before like Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole and Kevin Owens, and never in the WWE, which is where this is. It's a very different scenario. Lovely Michinoku driver. I don't know for certain what Dominic's finisher is. I haven't seen him win a lot of matches. Also says, bet this has been said, but when does the hard brand split come into effect? After Backlash? After Backlash, yes. With the exception of the Women's Tag Team Championships. So no more Cody. Joey says, I love the old SmackDown vs. Raw games. I wish they got remastered. I was always a No Mercy guy. To be fair, I was always a WrestleMania 2000 guy. Zelina Vega has got Rhea on the ropes, as it were. Ray seems to be taking command of Dominic. Eric says, my favourite memory around Punk was right after his first UFC fight. The crowd chanted for him. Stephanie said, if you keep it up for 2:14, you'll last 1 second longer than Punk. A distraction from Finn Balor has given Dominic an opportunity here. We're going full Eddie with the triple suplexes. Gotcha, Horsey. Gotcha. Yeah, we had Cody. We have Judgment Day. And we had Bianca Belair. Dominic Mysterio has been pinned by Rey Mysterio. A roll-up, taking advantage of the Three Amigos. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio beating down Rey in the corner. Usually SmackDown wraps up pretty quickly, but I do think, logically, Bad Bunny's got an opportunity here to put his mark on proceedings. Joey says, do you think Vince purposely buried ECW or did he just not know how to book it? Vince wasn't booking ECW. He had other people doing it. Damian Priest has arrived, joining in the beating. Again, logically, Bad Bunny has to be making an appearance here. LWO at least. Like all of the LWO are there. We know this. Bailey suggests Gunter versus Raquel. Not happening. Sean says there's a title unification between Liv and Raquel and Isla and Alba. Could it happen on a big PLE like Mania or SummerSlam? Yeah, probably. The LWO and Bad Bunny are heading down to the ring. I told you there'd be a lot of pandering. I wasn't wrong, was I? Parrish has actually just asked the question, do you think Bad Bunny joins the LWO in Puerto Rico? I think he already has. I like that Damian Priest is zeroed in on Bad Bunny and they've zeroed in on each other. Everything else is just happening around them. But Bad Bunny and Damian Priest have their own thing going on. Mark says the pop for Bunny, it was a big one. I think Bunny has the biggest. Damian Priest stepping back honourably to let Bad Bunny into the ring. Bad Bunny armed, however. I see a Dominic. Damian's running. Damian Priest is running. Dominic playing spoiler there. Cleverly done. Yeah, they ride together, don't they, Eric? Pete says, love this SmackDown. See you all tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Peter. Also says, ECW couldn't handle mainstream without changing completely, especially on main networks, and that destroys the whole ethos of ECW for me anyway. I agree with that. Mainstream ECW, the two words should never meet. Does not work for me. Bad Bunny's been given an LWO t-shirt just as they run out of time. Will he have time to put his t-shirt on? Just that they are not willing to press this button just yet. There we are. They wanted that visual. Hard cam, mate. Hard cam. Good boy. So that's SmackDown. Again, I think they're on a good run at the moment. I think they're on a very good run. Overall, the wrestling quality was good. They didn't rely too heavily on the more established names, the Usos, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. We did get a bit of Cody Rhodes, a bit of Bianca Belair as well. It was a moderately predictable show, but there's nothing bad about that. I think it's one of those where the crowd was good and that helped carry the momentum all the way through. Very, very happy about it. Very happy with it. Horsey happy enough with it. Leon happy. Andy liked it. Mark as well. Gomar enjoyed it. Hello Gomar, how you doing? Sean says Bunny Coat says WWF on it. I'm surprised WWE isn't censoring it. Well, maybe he just likes the wildlife. Maybe that's his thing. Maybe that's his thing. And Mark gives it an 8 out of 10 for the match. Absolutely perish. Go nuts. Is the OLE show live tonight? What's happening with it? Gomar gives it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, Parrish, let me know if you're live, because if so, we can do raid. Let's have a look. I don't know if you've turned raids on, though. I don't think you have. Tell you what we'll do. We do have a raid option, though. Someone that was mentioned on Tuesday as someone that we could potentially work with. So I don't see any reason why we can't pop down and say hi while we have the opportunity. Moxie, I'm not wrestling Gunter. Why do you want that to happen? Why would you want that to happen? Joey says, I enjoyed most of it. Wish some of the matches went longer. Mark says, great show, Tom. I'll see you tomorrow for Backlash. We will be seeing plenty of you in the days to come, I hope. Because after all, we have Backlash. We have Monday, spoiler warning. And that is where we will be wrapping up. In the meantime, though, I'm trying to load this raid out. Joey says, will we ever see you do a 450 splash? There is quite literally no chance in hell I would ever be able to physically do so. Just a terrifying concept in every possible way. Terrifying concept. Why would anybody want to see that? You scare me sometimes with some of your requests. So we are going to wrap up. I have a raid ready and sorted. Even if you don't stick around in their stream, please do at least stick around for a moment so I get to show off and, be like, hey, I sent a lot of people your way. That'd be really good. I'd really enjoy that. Please consider it. In the meantime, though, I am going to say good night. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very, very soon.